Hello, everyone. The first thing I want to do is to say thank you for this opportunity to speak with you and to sort of share my story and some gems that I have for you today. On this topic, I'm going to be talking to you about owning yourself and what that means. I know a lot of times we hear people say, this whole cliche about being yourself and being authentic and not being a copy, and how being yourself is your superpower, right? And so for me, what does that actually means? And for me, that means truly owning everything you are, whatever you are, and however you are, and what all that means, and how do you bring that to the table. So let's just take it back some. I always, growing up, felt a little different, felt somewhat of an outsider because of the way I thought and the way that I moved and the way that I saw the world. I would be in classes and I would see things differently. And I always looked at the world as being bigger and much larger than my surroundings. I graduated from college and I went to Boston. I started working for this program as a recruiter, and I did that for about a year. And after that, I started looking at other opportunities, and one that presented itself and turned out to be a great job was me working as a program lead coordinator for a college and career mentoring program for sixth graders and 12th graders. And the program was set up to follow them until they graduated. So here I was in this program, and I was there, and this was in Boston, and I'm from Mississippi, and I am who I am, and I'm bringing all of that Mississippi-ness with me and my background and all of those things. And so again, I stuck out with the people there. I stuck out with the job. People made fun of my accent, and it was all sort of things there. But with the job, I knew going in that one of the things that I wanted to do in working with these students was not to just do a program that was strictly traditional in the sense of, I'm going to teach you, these are how many English courses you need to take, these are how many math courses you need to take, science, etc. You want to do these type of activities to look good on your college resume, or this is what your college essay should look like. you know yes, I had some people come over and talk to students about things sort of related in that way. And then I also had, brought in someone to grade their writings, because I did want them to sort of work on a college essay and, get that experience in long form writing, right? But more importantly for me, it was about exposing students to a world that was larger than theirs. So I'm working, at a school that was a magnet school, primarily students who were of color, and even the white students there were, 99.9% of them were not white students indigenous to America. And what I mean by that is their parents were not from America. Their parents came from Europe. And so, and excuse me when I say indigenous, I understand that indigenous people are Native Americans. All right. So here I am talking and working with these students. And what I wanted to do was, how do I get them to think larger, to think bigger, to take the ownership for themselves? Because the one thing that, if you're working with kids, what you know is that you can't make them do stuff that they don't want to do. So if they don't want to do the work, they're not going to turn into work, and you can't make them turn into work. If they don't want to pay attention, you can't make them pay attention, right? There's nothing that you can do. What you can do is set up circumstances, set up the environment in which they take the ownership for themselves. So what I wanted to do from then is, I knew that I had to work on the hope gap, right? And so what do I mean by that? So normally we are all influenced by our familial and communal background. So what we experience in our home life, what we experience in our neighborhood, with relatives, and that all sort of paints a picture of who we are and what we think is possible in the world, or in our world. And I had to flip that on its head. And I said, okay, we're going to do college visits. But I told my students, we're not doing college visits in Boston, because if you want to go, hop on public transportation and you go yourselves. What we're going to do is, we're going to schools where you're going to get on these campuses, and I'm going to take you out of the city, and I'm going to take you to places where you would probably normally not go. And I want to expose you to different people, places, and opportunities. So in the 2-year span in which I worked for this program, we took students to UConn. We took students to SUNY. We took in upstate New York. We took students to University of New Hampshire. We took students to Plymouth. We took students to Hampton, which that school no longer exists. It closed several years ago. But in doing that and educating kids again about the college process, about different majors and minors and different careers, I did that to give kids a foundational knowledge. So when they got on campus, they could ask certain type of questions. And when people would ask them questions, they would know how to respond. But the most important part was, again, getting them out there to seeing things that were awesome and bigger and larger than what they would normally see in their neighborhood or little pockets. And so we go, and we're having a great time. Look, I am blown away by some of these college campuses, right? I'm sitting on UConn's campus, and I'm like, this is so beautiful, such a great experience. And the crazy thing about it is, as we were walking, I was like, wow, it would be great to work for a university. And by the way, I was employed by university, UMass Boston, but my office was located. We had two offices. We had an office at university, but we also had an office at the middle school. It was a high school. Middle school one end, then transitioned to high school another end, where we were able to see the students. So I mostly reported there, and I went to UMass in the summertime. So here I am, and we're having a great time with these kids, and we're having different programs, and I would organize different events. So I had one event held for all females, and I went out and recruited people in the community, whether they were college professors or local people on TV or writers, to come in and speak to the students about things about focus and purpose and careers. And I did an event for all males as well, and did the same thing with going out and recruiting people. And then we had like parent nights, and which were really dope because it was potluck, right? And so, I had again, my kids came from Albania, Haiti, Colombia, Dominican Republic, and everyone's bringing these dishes. We got these things going on. And I had people there for the parents to be able to go speak to the parents about college and financing college and what does that all look like. So it was a great, wonderful experience. And I did that for a couple of years, got married, and moved to Mississippi. Now, this is where things for me start to sort of change, because now after getting a master's degree and getting a doctorate degree, I am now in K through 12 education, and I'm working as an instructional technologist. And I'm starting to work with these teachers, and I'm starting to bring in my ideas about education and what education should look like, and how you should connect with students, and how you should show students a world that is bigger than themselves, so that the kids again take ownership and that they themselves put in the work. And as I am doing this and I'm starting to work with teachers, I'm feeling like, hey, I, I, I'm a fraud, right? I'm not a licensed teacher, right? I'm feeling that I am not dope. And I felt that way. And there were a couple of people who like, yo, he's just, he's just a trainer. And I felt that way. And then I had to sit back and I had to realize who I am. And I had to embrace, again, you sit back, you become self-aware, you think about who you are. And I had to embrace everything that was who I am. And yes, I did spend time in working with teachers, learning about, RTI, learning about pacing guides, learning about different things that related to specifically K through 12 curriculum, that when you're working in after school programs or summer programs, summer camps, things of that nature, when you're talking about developing those programs, this conversations that you have in the K through 12 school system in the classrooms, those are not the same type of conversations. So I did spend time in learning that so that I could communicate with teachers in a way in which they understood what I was doing. And I had to really get better at my job. But in so doing that, I just started to sort of, feel myself, right? And I started to say, you know what? I'm not who these people are, and I can't be who they are because I'm not them, and I don't have their experiences, and I don't have their background, and I'm not going to run away from who I am. I'm not going to run away from what I've done. I'm not going to run away from how dope I am and what I do. And when you are doing this work and you're thinking, hey, now I'm ready to become that Edupreneur. I'm ready to speak. I'm ready to write. I'm ready to write curriculum and all of those things. You have to own who you are. You cannot try to copy other people, because it's not going to work, because that's not who you are. You have to be everything that you are and embrace everything you are. And if it's lazy, like myself, because I like to tell people that I'm a lazy minimalist, and my wife just like to say that I'm just flat out lazy, then embrace that, right? And for me, that means keeping things very simple, streamlined, and something that can easily be put in, plug and played, remixed, and scaled. And also from a specific lens that I mentioned earlier. And you have to do this because you are not going to be happy, you're not going to be successful if you're trying to play someone else's game, right? If you're trying to be the next so-and-so, if you're trying to be a better so-and-so, if you're trying to be a different so-and-so, you're just not going to be happy trying to play their game, running their lane, and you're not going to be successful as well. I've told this anecdote before, but Tom Murray, the homie, he came to Mississippi. He did a keynote speak, right? So the night before we hung out was great. Yo, Tom. And during his keynote, Tom was telling this emotional story. And I'm looking around the room because everybody, like I'm looking around this table and room, and people are just crying and they're just wiping their eyes. And I'm sitting here going like, yo, that will never be me, right? I am not that type of cat that is going to come out here and tell these emotional stories and tell them in a way in which is going to get that result, right? Because one, I don't even think that way. I always try to bring some humor. I always try to bring the levity and high energy and talk about different things of empowerment and enlightenment and talk about liberation and things of that nature. So that's what I do. And when I sat there and I'm seeing all these people, the first thing that came to my mind was, I will never be Tom. And I've had the opportunity to see Holly speak. I've had the opportunity to see Eric speak and host others that we all see on Twitter and Facebook. And we see these people at Ed.D and FETC, TCEA, you name it, we've all been there. And in seeing these people speak and in seeing these people present and do what they do, I have never walked away thinking I got to be like them, because I know, and you'll know, and you already know deep down in your heart that you'll never do that. You'll never be who they are. You'll never do what they do, how they do it. So why would you even try? This is all about you owning, again, everything you are. Like, look, am I lazy? No doubt. Am I simple? No doubt. Do I have a certain worldview? Yes, and we all do. And so I don't spend time at this point worrying about whether I fit in. I don't spend time at this point worrying about, will teachers judge me for not being a certified teacher? Will they judge me for not teaching in the classroom like they have? Because I have teaching experience. It's just not in a traditional K through 12 setting. And so I bring that experience with teachers. I bring those experiences with teachers. I bring those examples to teachers. I bring all of that in myself, my experience, who I am, what I like, my personality, my worldview, everything with the work that I do with teachers and with the work that I do as a consultant. And look at what I've done, right? Even with my podcast, I don't have a traditional education podcast where people are talking about, what they're doing in the classroom. And my 9 to 5, right? The job that pays my mortgage is EdTech, instructional technology. And I don't have a podcast on that. Now, every now and then, I'll meet someone and I'm like, yo, you're dope. I want you to have a podcast. And I have these little bonus episodes that are out there. But for the most part, what I am doing is having this podcast that I have on entrepreneurship, on financial literacy, because I love it. I love conversations about money because I see money as freedom. I see money as liberation. I see entrepreneurship as being creative, being able to adapt and pivot, being able to see solutions and not problems, being able to see ownership in what you can do and not sitting back and relying on someone else to do something for you or waiting for permission for someone else to give you so you can do what you want to do or do what you need to do. And this is why I'm telling you that in this talk that I'm giving is that when you wake up in the morning and you get up and you look in the mirror, that same person that you see, you need to take that same person everywhere with you. I don't want you to shy away from who you are. I don't want you to shrink yourself or diminish yourself to try to fit in anywhere else or for you to try to get in. If there are opportunities that people are not giving you, then you need to create your own opportunities. But the one thing you don't want to do is try to change or remake yourself or remix yourself or do whatever other things that you can do to try to fit in, to try to be championed by folks. Because if these people ain't rocking with you for who you are, them ain't your people, right? You want to be with people. You want to connect with people. You want to do work with people. You want to collaborate with people. You want to teach people. You want to vibe with people who are your people, right? People who get you. People who believe in you. People who believe in the work that you're doing. And if you have to change who you are, if you have to try to be something that you are not, it is not worth it. And you're not going to be successful at doing the work. And if you are successful, at some point in time, it's going to become exhausting, right? Because you're going to be putting so much work and putting on this mask. Own it, people. Do it, right? I'm just telling you from my own experience from, being, feeling like a fraud, feeling like I wasn't dope, feeling like I'm on the outside looking in. Don't waste your time doing that because I'm no longer doing that. Look, I've stopped doing that with my own job. I've stopped doing that with my consulting. I've stopped doing that with the other work that I'm doing. I mean, look at the book that I wrote. I could have written another ed tech book. And no shade to people who write ed tech books. But I could have done that. But I chose not to because that's not where I am in my season of life. Right? That doesn't appeal to me anymore. That doesn't attract me anymore. I mean, it's a great job. Don't get me wrong. I love that. But when I'm looking at, okay, what do I want to contribute to the world? What do I want to create? That's not what I want to do anymore. I'm over tools. Even with my consulting, I'm not doing that work anymore because that doesn't serve me anymore. And this is why I want you again to wake up in the morning and I want you to be so happy with what you're doing. I want you to love what you're doing. I want you to live the type of life that you do not need a vacation from. I want you to be so enamored, so in love with who you are, with what you do, with what you bring to the table, that you're not second guessing what you do for 1 minute, right? Applaud these people that you see on these stages, that you see on Twitter, or that you see on Facebook, right? Give them the pound, give them the handshake, give them the hoorah, but don't be like them. Don't even second guess. Don't even think about it for 1 second. Love you, be you, and do you. Thank you for listening to this talk. And I hope that it was inspiring to you. And that's it. As I want to close this, as I say with my podcast, invest in you. EDU. Peace.